Wow, here we go then. A day of contrasts for City and United in the Manchester derby. Sheer delight for City. 3-0 victory left the Super Sunday panel in awe of their performance at Old Trafford. Concerns, though, for United, with Gary Neville saying the toxicity at the club is eating away at the manager and the players.
Spirit is very good. The fighting spirit is very good. I think we are on our way up. The start was difficult, but now we are on the way up. And I'm sure when injuries getting back, we will be stronger. But therefore we have to take patience. But I'm happy with some subs of some injuries coming back, and then our side will be stronger.
Yeah, it's difficult working out where to start, isn't it? A magnificent City performance or Manchester United, but as they were the home team, let's start with Manchester United first. How much of a lesson, Sue, were they taught by their City rivals yesterday? How concerning a performance was that from them?
Yeah, they were, and you could certainly see the gulf in class between the two sides. And I think we're still struggling to see any sort of consistency with Manchester United. We've said for numerous weeks we're still struggling to see a style or an identity, a way of playing in this Manchester United side. And I think we all thought from last season, where they finished top four, which was great considering where they were. They obviously won something, and you just thought that they were really going to build on that. And we just haven't seen that. And I think you can look at other factors, external factors, the things that Ten Hag's had to deal with off the field, I'm sure has been quite difficult. I think the injuries that he's had have been difficult. He wants to play a certain way, obviously bringing Onana in to start that way of playing off. But then when you've got a makeshift back line, then that's probably going to affect the way you want to play. So there is other factors, I think, to consider with this. But you could just see the difference between the two sides yesterday. Manchester City were brilliant, and Manchester United, apart from probably the first 5 or 10 minutes, really struggled.
Yeah, fans leaving early, never a good sign, is it, Stephen, if you want the backing of the supporters. This idea that Sue floated there, which obviously wonderful, so therefore I'm going to pick up on it. No clear idea of style of play. Is that the most damning of verdicts on Ten Hag? Because there are other extraneous circumstances as well.
Yeah, there are, but we've spoke about this for numerous weeks. It's like, from a player's point of view, you can't affect what goes on upstairs. Ten Hag will have issues with it, but from a player's point of view, you come in every single day and the training facilities are there, you're getting paid every month, there's players coming through the door, so the signings being made. So when you look at it from that point of view, that's what you want as a player. Are we travelling the right way? Are we getting the right hotels? Are we getting everything that we need from a player's point of view to be prepared for a game and to be ready for that game at the weekend? Yes, you are. So the players, from their point of view, they haven't got an issue. The big thing that I saw yesterday in the two games was one team that looks like it's coached extremely well and one team that looks like it plays off the cuff. And it is reactive football to what's going on the pitch. There's no clear style of how to beat Manchester City or a style that you think will be right for that game. And I understand managers want to be adaptable in different game situations, but we've harped on about this for weeks now, that man behind us, Marcus Rashford, papered over the cracks last season.
Well, was there not a strategy, hit the ball in the channels and try and get it over to Haaland, and it just didn't work though, did it?
Yeah, but you've brought a striker into a team, Haaland, who feeds off crosses, but then you've got wingers either side who don't want to cross the ball. You've got Marcus Rashford, who wants to beat players in 1v1 situations, but delivery isn't his biggest attribute. His attribute is coming in off that wing and getting shots away, beating players in 1v1 situations. You've not got a Ryan Giggs out there or a David Beckham on either side, and that's what you'd effectively signed a Haaland for, is for them opportunities for those type of players to get it out the feet, one touch, whip a ball into the middle, and Haaland's exceptional in the air. He's aggressive in the way he gets across. But he doesn't play that style of football. Now, if your remit then is to Marcus Rashford, right, I want you to get to the byline, I want you pulling balls back across the 6-yard box. But we don't see that. We don't see that from him. On the other flank, Bruno Fernandes is playing there at the moment. Anthony's not getting in the team, and rightly so, because he's been really poor since he's come into the football club. But even when he's on that right-hand side, the quality of crosses coming into the middle are very few and far between, and you don't give him opportunities to get on the end of anything. So again, you look at signings that are made for personnel in and around you. Would you buy a striker who likes crosses into the box when you've got the wingers that Manchester United have got? It's very, very odd.
Well, I think you've got both wide players, like you say, who like to come in, don't they?
Yeah.
So that's when maybe you need your fullbacks that are going to get wide and get deliveries into the box. So you're going to miss a Luke Shaw or something like that.
But even when he plays Luke Shaw, he puts him inside.
Yeah, they like to go, yeah. But it is about... I thought last season he was playing a certain way because he had to, and he was having to pick up points and results, and they did like to play that counter-attacking football. It was reliant on moments of brilliance from often Marcus Rashford. But that's not really changed this season, has it? It's continued that is the theme, that is the pattern of play, if there is a pattern of play. So that's the difficulty. So I think we've blamed, or not blamed, but we've looked at strikers and said, well, the strikers need to do more, they need to score more, they need to have more assists. But then it's what's happening behind them. That's not really working. That doesn't look quite fluid, does it?
But
what's happening behind them?
You're saying that, but they've brought in Martinez as a centre-half for big money. For me, hasn't really done it. He looked okay to start with. Then you've brought in Casemiro for 70 million. Hasn't been helped in midfield, but again, Anthony, not performed at all. And Erik ten Hag spent big money on these players to bring them into the football club. And again, like you're judged on your signings as well, and who fits in the system. And you look at them and think, okay, so you've got players now, i.e. Martinez and Varane at the back, who should be able to play out from the back. They still don't play out from the back. Onana wants to play out from the back, but they're not comfortable doing it. And then you've got players sat on the bench, i.e. Harry Maguire and McTominay, who now suddenly look like the best players because they do things right.
Yeah.
It's a mess of a football club from top to bottom. But again, there's only one man who fixes it on the pitch, and that's Erik ten Hag, and he's struggling at the moment.
Well, I think the recruitment of the likes of Casemiro and Eriksen, that's clearly it was a short-term thing, wasn't it? You're not looking at the long term. But then you go and bring in Mason Mount, you bring in Amrabat, again, that you may be looking more longer term. So that just says that there isn't a clear plan. And of course, that does come from the top. But I don't think you can blame what's happening at the top. Of course you want that fixed, of course you want that resolved, but the things that happen on the pitch, like you say, is down to the players and the manager.
Yeah, OK, well, let's talk about the top, because Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher, they had a wonderful debate, let's call it that, at the end of the game. So no clear plan on the pitch. Is that because there's no clear plan off the pitch? Gary Neville ended the thing by saying they're the only major team in the world who hasn't got a sporting director. They haven't got one. There is no identity off the pitch to pass on to the pitch, is what his argument was. And that Erik ten Hag maybe is kind of afloat at sea with just a life jacket waiting for something somewhere to come and give him a hand here.
So I don't agree with it. I just look at it and think, well, what's that change about your training? What does that change about how you set your team up? I understand you want an identity all the way through the football club. However, if that's not right at that point, you can still fix your part of it. You still got to come in every day and go, right, how do we train? How do we organise ourselves against teams? How do we get better? The football club at Arsenal was an absolute mess at one point. Mikel Arteta didn't look at that and go, right, I'm going to moan about what's going on in the hierarchy. He fixed it from his point of view, and then got everyone else in and around him to buy into what he was doing. So when you look at what Mikel Arteta did at Arsenal, under big pressure at the time for ownership sort of being called for, they wanted the Cronkies out. The Arsenal fans weren't happy about that at all. But he was the one who fixed the football club as well. So it can be done. I just look at Erik ten Hag's team at the moment and just think there doesn't seem to be a clear plan of how he plays. I haven't got a clue how they play.
Do you think because the jury's definitely still out for me as well, but do you think we judge them maybe when the players are back fit, when maybe the players are back in form, like you hope that Rashford's going to go on a good run of form at some point? Do you think maybe we judge him then rather than now, or do you think...
But I look at Marcus Rashford and I think he looked happy last season.
Yeah, he did.
I look at him this season, I think he looks miserable. I think he looks very, very unhappy, whether that's his personal life, whether it's in the training ground, coming in every day. But I don't look at any Manchester United player at the moment and think they're enjoying the football. I don't think any of them look confident. That comes from the manager giving them belief and confidence. I know it's very difficult at times to turn it on and off, but idea-wise, I look at Manchester City's players. Every time they get the ball, I'm thinking they know exactly what the options are in and around them. I look at Manchester United and it's just reactive.
But Arsenal's upturn maybe under Mikel Arteta, because let's not forget it was a slow start.
Yeah.
To his time there. Yes, they won the FA Cup at the start.
They had an idea. They had a plan straight away that we saw.
Edu came in, didn't he?
Yeah.
And then suddenly the players know that there is this collective against them if they don't perform as they're supposed to. There is people, not just Erik ten Hag, Joseph, because the problem with Erik ten Hag, surely explain it to me. Erik ten Hag has put his foot down with a couple of players and been vilified for them, most recently Jadon Sancho. There may come a time, say if he, I don't know, put Bruno Fernandes out and said, right, your performance is good. He's going to need him in the future. So he's got to...
Yeah, but there's a way of doing it.
He's got to bring him back in. But he has no support from higher up, does he, within the club? Whereas at Arsenal, at Manchester City, at Liverpool, there is support from above coming down to his manager.
There's only one person's opinion that matters to me as a player, and that's the manager. Because the manager makes the final decision whether I play or not.
You know, if you step out of line, Bruno Fernandes was petulant yesterday, but Anthony's performance yesterday. If you are that player performing like that at a Manchester City, at a Liverpool or an Arsenal or another big team, you won't be selected again.
Yeah, but that's the manager's decision. That's not the board's decision. I never once saw a board member walk into a changing room and say to me, or anyone in and around us, you're not performing at the level you should be, or your attitude isn't right on a football pitch. That's not his decision. That's why he employs Erik ten Hag. Erik ten Hag's decisions are to make the footballing decisions and to be the one who finds players if they're not performing, to drop players if they're not doing things right. A board member will see it, with all due respect, a board member's in the board for a reason, and Erik ten Hag's on the sideline for a reason. Erik ten Hag would never go into a boardroom and start calling shots of how to do things behind the scenes. As a board member should never go into a changing room and start trying to talk tactics. Well, if he starts talking tactics, then put him on the sideline if he thinks he's good enough to do that. So the decision has to come from Erik ten Hag. That is, if you're going to drop a player and you're going to leave him out the football team, that's where you look at Erik ten Hag and say, so for talking's sake, he drops Bruno Fernandes. He's got every right to do that because he's the man at the top. The top for the players is the manager. It's no one above that. It's trying to impress the manager and not the board. The board will obviously look at things. He will then relate to the board and go and talk to them and say, we need to sort this player out. He's not performing. I don't think he's right for the football club going forward, whether it's attitude, things like that. That's where their relationship then comes into it. Then later down the line, there might be a discussion. Listen, you're not for us. We're going to look to move you on. And that's that. But that's got nothing to do with decisions on a football pitch.
But the feeling at United, or by those perhaps critical of United, is those board aren't doing those sort of things.
Yeah.
Because I think it was quite clear that Jose Mourinho wanted to ship out a few players, but actually commercially they were worth more to Manchester United than maybe Jose Mourinho was.
Yeah.
It was cheaper to get rid of Jose Mourinho. So he wasn't getting that backing when he was there.
Yeah, and ideally you want that holistic approach, don't you? You want the ownership to be right. You want them to be in it for the right reasons. You then want the direction filtering down and the decisions to be made, because, of course, you want a club to be run perfectly. So, of course, it does start from the top in that instance, and in terms of recruitment and, you know, who is bringing in these players, why are they bringing these players in? Like you say, is it all about money rather than because you love the club? So that, of course, needs to be sorted out. I completely understand that, but I do agree with Stephen in terms of the performances on the pitch is down to the players and the manager.